Today's review is sponsored by the new hit romantic comedy When Harry Ate Sally, a love story that goes horribly, horribly wrong.
Watch it, Alan, I'm shooting.
Savage Streets.
For God's sake, it wasn't my fault.
You're gonna die, Vince.
Hey, why me?
We've got a fun, sleazy flick for you all today. This is a revenge movie that came out in 1984, starring Linda Blair. And we all know Linda Blair is most famous for The Exorcist II. What we have here is a revenge movie mixed with a bit of a girl gang movie. Kind of in the vein of Switchblade Sisters crossed with Miss 45. Not quite as good as either of those movies, but still very well done. It does take a while to get to the revenge, but the movie is entertaining while building up to it. So, in Savage Streets, Linda Blair plays Brenda. She's a girl who's viewed as the bad girl in her high school, probably because she's the bad girl in her high school, but she has a heart of gold. She's the leader of a girl gang known as the Satins, and she also has a little sister named Heather, played by Linnea Quigley. Now, Brenda is very protective of Heather due to the fact that she's deaf and mute.
Wish you could use a little bit of peach brandy.
Hey, Stevie, I said none of that in front of Heather.
Hey, Fred, can't you take a joke?
Not about Heather.
One night the Satins decide to play a little prank on this gang of dope dealers known as the Scars, led by the sadistic Jake.
What they mean? Oh, come on! I'm gonna kill him! I'm gonna fucking kill him! Ah!
The Scars decide to get revenge on the Satins by assaulting Heather and leaving her for dead. She's in a coma in the hospital for the rest of the movie. Things continue to escalate throughout the film until Brenda can't take it anymore and she sets out for revenge. With a fucking crossbow.
Too bad you're not double-jointed.
Why?
'Cause if you were, you'd be able to bend over and kiss your ass goodbye.
This is a fun and brutal revenge movie. If it were taken a little more serious, this would be a disturbing and depressing watch. Still good, but depressing. But there's a cheesiness and a campiness to the flick that makes it entertaining. The movie still has a brutal edge to it. There is fun to be had in this flick, but the rough scenes are still impactful. Linnea Quigley being in this movie, you know there's going to be some nudity, but her nudity comes in the scene where her character is raped. It's rough, and the scene is handled with all the seriousness that a scene like this should be handled with. But other than this, when there's nudity in the rest of the movie, it's a little easier to stomach because it's handled in more of a fun way. There are a couple scenes when there's tits and ass all over the place. This being a revenge movie, you know the drill. The main character is going to be wronged in some extreme way. Either they get attacked and left for dead, or a family member gets attacked and left for dead, or really dead. Savage Streets takes a while to get to the revenge, so I guess you could call this a revenge slow burn? Sort of. Brenda doesn't start going after the Scars until the third act.
Brenda, don't, please!
Please, my ass! I don't hear it. I can find him.
They'd kill me if I told you.
The movie itself is not slow. It just builds up to the revenge until the third act. There's still plenty of entertainment here. The Satins are a fun group of girls. Linda Blair knows what kind of movie she's in. She knew that this was a fun, sleazy B-movie, and she treated it as such. She's serious when she needs to be, and she's over the top when she needs to be.
ever wonder what a pig must feel like before they slit his throat or cut his balls off?
But at the same time, Brenda is your typical main character in a revenge movie. That's not a bad thing. Linda Blair does a good job in the role, and I enjoy watching her. It's just that we've seen this character before. Brenda does have an edge, but she also has that endearing quality, with how much she loves her little sister, how protective she is of her sister.
Heather, it's beautiful. Oh, God, I love you so much.
The rest of the Satins are very likable, especially Francine. She's pregnant and is preparing to get married. I love how everybody in this gang is supportive of both Brenda and Francine. They understand that both of these people have big things going on in their life right now. Brenda's sister was attacked, and as a result, she's in a coma in the hospital. And at the same time, Francine is getting ready for her wedding. And at the same time, both Brenda and Francine are supportive of each other. They understand what's going on in each other's lives. And like I said, they are very supportive of each other. But this is a revenge movie with a pregnant lady. Francine is in serious danger. Then there's the villains. The Scars are good villains. Jake is so fucking sadistic, so intense. He always looks like he's about to snap. You never know when he's gonna decide to kill somebody. One moment he's being civil to one of his buyers, and the next he decides to beat the shit out of him. The most compelling member of the Scars is Vince. I don't feel right calling him a good guy. He's more conflicted. I don't condone him for anything he does in this movie, but he is more troubled than he is bad. Everything going on with him makes him more interesting.
Now tell me where I can find that bitch that cut me.
When the gang is assaulting Heather, Vince hangs in the back. You can tell he doesn't like what his friends are doing, but he doesn't speak up. He's too afraid to stand up to his fellow gang members, so he doesn't say anything. Then he's forced onto Heather, clearly being forced to do something he doesn't want to do. But he does it anyway. After the attack, Vince is racked with guilt. As Jake continues to terrorize the Satins, Vince tries to intervene more. And then he eventually does stand up to Jake, but only after he's gone past too far. Jake already went too far with what happened with Heather, but he eventually goes even further than too far. I don't want to spoil it here, but yeah. And only after that is when Vince stands up to Jake.
You sick motherfucker! I hate your guts! You hear me? I hate you! Let us go!
As much as I like this movie, it's not perfect. I mean, what movie is? There's this one annoying character named Cindy. She has a boyfriend who's constantly ogling Brenda, constantly hitting on Brenda, and Brenda has made it very clear that she's not interested in him. She's always telling him to fuck off. And Cindy keeps blaming Brenda. I hate people like this. If your partner is hitting on people who are just minding their own business, or anybody for that matter, blame your partner.
You are unbelievable.
What?
Well, well. It looks like the little slut's at it again.
Cut it out, Cindy. We're only talking.
I wouldn't have minded so much if it led to anything, but it doesn't. There are two incidents where Cindy is being a bitch, and it leads to a catfight between her and Brenda.
Let me see if I can make this simpler so that even you can understand. I wouldn't fuck him if he had the last dick on Earth.
I enjoy a good catfight, but if you're building up a character to be essentially a secondary antagonist, because let's face it, that's what Cindy is, It should be leading to something, like Cindy giving information to Jake about the rest of the Satins. Or you could have had this scene where Cindy makes a deal with the Scars, like she goes to take out Heather in the hospital while the rest of the Scars are going after the rest of the Satins. And now Brenda has to choose between helping her sister or helping her friends. But nothing like that happens. After the second incident, Cindy is just gone for the rest of the movie, never to be spoken of again. We could have ignored all the Cindy stuff and focused on the Brenda versus Scars situation, or maybe develop all the characters in each gang even more.
That people should be taught to stay in their own place and not try to pretend to be what they're not.
That being said, there's still plenty of good stuff in this flick. When we do get to the revenge, it is satisfying. Seeing Brenda going after the Scars with a crossbow is so badass. And I love how when Brenda faces off against Jake, it's more of a challenge. I've seen a lot of revenge movies, and action movies for that matter, when our main character finally faces off against the big bad, and it's a rather easy fight. I don't like that. The big bad, or the main enemy, should be the biggest challenge. In Savage Streets, it's a struggle to fight against Jake, and we see Linda Blair having to use her wits more than her physical muscles to try and defeat him. I like my suspense in movies. When there's a struggle against your main villain, that adds suspense. Savage Streets is a solid revenge movie. It may not be at the same level as other movies in the genre, but it's still very entertaining. It has good protagonists, good villains, and solid revenge when we get to it. All in all, if you're a fan of revenge movies, I'd say check this one out. And with that, let's get to the Grindhouse rankings. We've got a body count of 5, not a huge kill list, but all the deaths have an impact. The kills are mostly crossbow-related deaths in the third act, but we get a few other kills that I don't want to spoil here. There's a lot of nudity in this flick. One particular scene has full frontal ladies all over the place. This is a solid revenge movie, maybe not the best, but it's damn good. Linda Blair is great as Brenda. She's a good main character, and we're on her side as the movie goes along. The villains are good villains. Jake in particular is intimidating as hell, and Vincent is a rather compelling character. And the side characters help bring this movie to life. They all have their own personalities, and they add a little more meat to the story. The only character that doesn't work is Cindy. She's petty, annoying, and doesn't add much to the movie. It does take a while to get to the revenge, but the movie remains interesting and entertaining throughout. I'm giving this a 3.9 out of 5. It's a fun, sleazy little revenge movie that I recommend to revenge film fans. As always, I want to thank everybody for continuing to watch and support this channel. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know some of your favorite girl gang movies. This is the Maniac, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die. So Linda Blair played a little girl possessed by the devil and a badass woman going out for revenge. We need to combine these two flicks. A woman possessed by a demon going out for revenge. The Vatican would hate this one, which means it would be awesome.